Jacob Fugger is one of my favorite historical figures ever, and hardly anyone outside of Germany has heard of him. Jacob Fugger controlled 1% of Europe's total GDP. It's an insane fortune. If you just look at the proportion of resources he controlled within the economy he operated in, he was richer than Elon Musk, Jeffrey Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, all of them put together. Like, he was insanely rich. So he's called a lot of times the first modern capitalist, because he had this quote where he was like, if God did not want me to make money, he would not have made me so good at it. Prior to Jacob Fugger, there was this general attitude towards money, like medieval tradesmen. The goal was to sell as few products as possible at as high a price as you could possibly get. And then once you hit that mark, like you hit your budget, you and your family would just live on that money for the rest of the year. That's how most merchants, tradespeople, like the mentality that they had in doing business. Jacob Fugger comes along and he's like, but I could make more money. And so Jacob starts just making money. So he became a banker in a time when banking was forbidden by the church. Despite being a devoutly Catholic man, in the late 15th, early 16th centuries, when Jacob Fugger was alive, the Catholic Church in Europe officially forbade usury. That is the charging of interest on loans. Their official policy, because there's this passage in the Bible that says you are not to charge usury, you're not to charge interest to your brother. And so what the Catholic Church decided was that is anyone of the same faith as you. This is why Jews in Europe became so rich as bankers, is because they were the only ones who were allowed to lend money and charge interest to Christians. Christians could lend money and charge interest to Muslims and Jews, but there weren't as many Muslims and Jews in Europe as there were Christians, so the people who were able to be successful at banking were all non-Christians. Jacob Fugger, devout Christian man, which meant Catholic at the time, starts figuring out all these clever ways to charge interest, and one of the ways he did it was he would charge conversion fees. So if he's lending money from one currency to another, he can charge conversion fees, and he can make money off of that. And he had all of these different business interests. He had all of these different enterprises. He was, like I said, insanely wealthy. And he was based in Augsburg, Germany. This devout Catholic man, by being the first modern capitalist, accidentally jump-started the Protestant Reformation. So if you are familiar with the history of the Protestant Reformation, there were Pope Leo, who was from the Medici family, which is another banking family. So Pope Leo was kind of sympathetic to people who were making money through money. So Pope Leo takes this massive loan out from Jacob Fugger. Unfortunately, Pope Leo cannot pay the loan back. So, as a money-making scheme for the church, Pope Leo starts selling indulgences, which the idea was you pay money to the church for the scroll or whatever, and then you can buy your way out of sins, even buy dead relatives' ways out of purgatory. It was very corrupt, but Pope Leo was doing this, and this was the straw that broke the camel's back. And this little guy named Martin Luther went and nailed 95 Theses to a door on All Hallows Eve. Martin Luther and Jacob Fugger did know of each other. They hated each other so much. Jacob Fugger hated Martin Luther because, like I said, devout Catholic man. And Martin Luther hated Jacob Fugger because he just didn't like Fugger's attitude towards money. Jacob Fugger was so fascinating to me because he's this random guy who ends up controlling 1% of Europe's total GDP for his lifetime. And he was worth far more than the Medici or any of the other kings anywhere in Europe at any time. It's just insane. And he's mostly unknown now. He didn't have a whole lot of building projects the way the Medici did, although he did have this one kind of affordable housing project he built. The idea is this patron family pays to have this kind of apartment complex, I guess is how we would say it now, built, and then people of low income live there for a reduced rate. Last I checked, it is still in operation, and rent has not gone up in price. The only catch is that the residents have to pray for the souls of the sponsors. Don't know if Jacob Fugger was worried about his soul, but his personal life really was a mess. He ended up dying while his wife very publicly cheated on him. Jacob Fugger had no legitimate children that we know of. We think Jacob Fugger might have had a child with a mistress prior to getting married. But his wife was with her boyfriend when Jacob Fugger died, and his whole fortune went to his nephew, and his nephew ended up losing it all. It's very impressive how much Fugger was able to accomplish. During the 20th century, he became as kind of an anti-evil mustache man symbol. Jacob Fugger apparently has an enduring legacy in Germany. I do know that, like, his palace, I think it was called the Fuggerau. It was bombed during World War II, but it's still there and it is now an office building. So, kind of fitting.